Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Screen Chronicles. I'm Steve, and with me, as always, is the podcaster formerly known as Colby. Today, we have a special guest on. We've had him on before. Some of his recent and upcoming works include Red Rose on Netflix and upcoming season 7 of Outlander. But if you know us, you've listened to him before from King Constantine, from The Last Kingdom, and the new movie, Seven Kings Must Die. Rod Hallett, thank you again for coming on to the Screen Chronicles.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you, guys.
So, Rod, the movie just came out.
Yes.
And it was #1 streamed movie on the planet the first weekend it opened. What goes through your mind when that happened? Was that expected or what happened?
No, I did. It's so weird because it's so. Well, it feels like it was only like a year ago. You kind of on to the next thing. You're thinking about the next job. So when I went to the screening, the cast and crew screening of it, and I re-entered that world. I'd forgotten what scenes we shot. I'd forgotten what happened in the movie, and so I hadn't really thought about it. Certainly not about how it would be received. Really, I know that sounds crazy, but then I got like goosebumps when I kept seeing these things on social media talking about, it's #1 in Germany and UK and America, and then
89 countries,
89 countries. I was like, whoa, it's amazing. So I hope it'll open it up for people who never watched the series now as well.
Yeah, I think it must have a lot of people who haven't seen the show, I think, watched it. I mean, so that'll be pretty great for the show then, I think, too.
I think so. I know people who haven't seen the show who have watched the movie.
Yeah, really.
And now I'm going to go back.
What do they say about the movie since they haven't seen the show? Are they able to follow what's going on, or were they like, were they kind of confused? What was it like for them?
Exactly what I asked. Funnily enough, I've not been in a room with anyone who's done that. It's always been a text message. But my sister texted me this morning saying they watched it last night, and I said, do you know, are you able to follow without any kind of history with these characters? Do you know what's going on at all?
Right.
And she said, I think so. I mean, I really had to concentrate because it's obviously really dense.
Yes, it's fast, and
it's fast. And she said she's got loads of questions, but she followed it. So yes, it can stand alone. That was their hope anyway, wasn't it? That it would stand alone. I thought, how could you see this without knowing what's happening?
Well, it's hard enough in The Last Kingdom with all the names anyway. I mean, the names alone are like hard to keep track of, even when you watch a full season of The Last Kingdom.
Ethelstan, Ethelfled,
Ethelwald, Ethelhelm,
Ethelred.
And when you have a movie or sort of a book condensed into a movie, I thought it flowed pretty darn well for the amount of things that were packed into it.
Yeah.
And honestly, the more I watch the movie, the more appreciation for it I have. There's a lot of cool intricacies that I didn't pick up on the first time I watched that truly enhanced the movie for me the second time through.
That's good. Yeah, I found that too. I watched it twice now, and
I found it with the cast, right? And who else?
I watched that one with the cast in London, and then my wife was away when it came out. She was in Australia, and she came back a couple of days ago. So we watched it again. She really wanted to watch it. She didn't get a chance out there, and we watched it together a couple of nights back. Yeah, and the density, the amount of events that take place, and the speed at which it moves. But also, I'm probably wasting time thinking, nervous about, did I get that right? And and think, they cut that out. Oh, why did I not get? Oh, what's going? So the first run is probably a little bit of that as well. But the second time, I loved it the first time. But the second time, I really, really relaxed and enjoyed it.
I haven't watched it a second time yet, but the first time I watched it, it was just it hit a point where it just becomes really intense. Spoiler alert, everyone, for the movie Seven Kings Must Die. When Uhtred gets stabbed like 30 times, and then I just start freaking out, and then and then like I couldn't like actually sit there and enjoy the ending, because the whole time I'm just thinking, if they kill Uhtred, I'm done. I'm leaving.
That's how I felt about Constantine. But thank God that that didn't happen.
Yeah.
They killed Constantine. I would have walked out of the theater.
But what was it like watching with the cast, though, too? What was their reaction and your reaction, I guess, then?
It was quite quiet. I understand, Colby, you went to the screening in New York, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's right. Bitch. Yeah.
And Ross was telling me that was really good fun. Really.
It was fun, yeah. It was like, I've been to like the premieres of the Harry Potter movies, like the first night they come out in a packed theater and people are cheering for every scene or ohing for every scene. And that's exactly what it was like at the Seven Kings Must Die screening in New York.
Oh, man.
And it was cool to hear some of the actors' reactions. I was sitting next to Harry Gilby and Mark Rowley, and it was just cool to hear their reactions as well. Because I think it was probably their first time seeing it.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, definitely. Probably everyone but Alex. Well, I'd love to have seen that. So the cast and crew one would be it was quite quiet, really focused. I guess everyone's invested and it means a lot to everyone. And so many people from season one to the film were all there. So it was a really lovely night, and
that's so cool.
And there was just a lot of people leaning forward, putting their hands on someone's shoulders, going, "Nice job, mate! Nice job." Yeah, it was lovely, but it was very focused. No cheering and screaming during the film.
It must be a anxiety-filled room for a lot of the actors who were in the movie.
Yeah, never seen it before. You take these risks in front of a camera, and you just gotta hope. And
absolutely.
I know sometimes what I take don't work, so you never know until you see it, and then you're seeing it with your peers.
My God. Oh yeah.
was there anyone from the cast that you haven't worked with, someone who was in a previous season that maybe you came up to and they told you something you respected, or you just got to have a conversation with, anything like that?
There were certainly people I'd never met who actually, funnily enough, I still haven't met. It was a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like David Wilson was there, and he and I don't know each other. I wanted to go over and say, because I thought he was amazing, what a great job he'd done. But we kept passing.
Yeah.
So I didn't really meet anyone I hadn't met before. But no, the feedback, everyone's like, just as the job was, everyone's so supportive and sweet in the things they say.
It seems like they kept that thread in the cast somehow the whole way through, and maybe that's a tribute to Alex's leadership or something like that. But it's just cool, the camaraderie that you guys have, for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really incredible. It's so incredible. I think you've seen on some Instagram thing I did. My kids came out, and they were only out, I don't know, 6 days or something. I mean, I thought this is kind of testament. They hung out with everybody, but a lot of the time we were doing our own thing. So I hadn't seen them. I have two of my kids. I've got 3 kids. 2 of them are twins, but they're born on different days. So they came out on the first twin's birthday, and the second day was the second twin's birthday. So sometimes we were doing our own thing. So they spent time with some of the cast members, but never very long. But it's like one of the most resonant things from their whole childhood, it seems. They always ask about Harry and Agnes, who plays Astrid, and Arne. They're just, they're such nice people. And so, giving them their time and themselves and their energy and everything to these kids who they don't know, why should they? And it's left this massive impression on them. And if they see any of them on the screen, or even they watch like kids shows on Netflix, and occasionally they'll see a thumbnail from The Last Kingdom, and they'll say, "That's Harry! That's Harry! That's Harry!" It's so sweet, and it just shows what those guys are like. Just so beautiful.
That is beautiful, and the actors got a chance to practice their battle skills. It looks like at the same time, so it was.
They did, yeah. That was a workout. Oh, poor Arnis. He spent an hour and a half with my son. Oh my goodness,
that's awesome.
I'd said to my son about Arnis and said, "This is the guy." He was asked, because I had the sword in the apartment and a dagger, and sometimes we'd be practicing with it because time's tight on this one. It was much tighter, I found.
Yeah.
He was saying, "Show me how to use it," and I'm like, I can show you things I learned, but they're very specific. Who you want is Arnis. And then I said, Arnis, one day, would you be able to come over and just fight with my son?
Fight my son.
Yeah, hurt my son.
We need to put him through the trials.
Exactly. This is an initiation, and I need to know whether I like my son.
Exactly. Is he worthy? That's fine.
But we've been on the battlefield all day, and that's tiring.
Yeah.
And Arnold had done something during one of the fights. I don't know what, actually I forget, but he certainly enough to go to hospital and have an X-ray on his hand.
Wow.
And then he said, "Don't worry, I'm coming back to fight your son." And
I haven't forgotten.
Yeah, forget it. Take care of your hand. You've got a few more days to fight. So that was him straight back from hospital, and then giving my kids all that time. It was just what a lovely guy.
Well, let's get into the show, the movie here. We talked last year with you about season 5 of Last King, where we love the character Constantine. You are an Arsling Award winner too. I don't know if you tuned into the Arslings, but
no, I didn't. I was meant to. I started, and then something stopped me. Oh, good. What did I win?
You won best new. Well, you tied for best new character. We had one tie.
Yes. With Harry Gilby, with Ethelstan, we couldn't.
Yes,
it was tough. It was
the committee,
both of them so much, but we don't make these decisions. It's the committee.
It was the committee.
Some people upstairs. That we do.
Well, I'm honored. That's an honor. Thank you.
And then best battle moment for Constantine's charge.
Yeah,
you won Arslings. We were obviously big fans of Constantine. What was it like coming back to do this character? What was it, a quick turnaround from season 5 to the movie here, as far as filming?
Yeah, quite quick. I had quite a full period as well, because season 5 was summer and Seven Kings was winter. So there wasn't a year between the two. It was 6 months or something. And I was quite busy during that period. So it felt, like we're straight back in. But I knew before I even started season 5 that they optioned me for that film, me and Rob, because we were the only ones with new contracts. So we knew, actually, funny enough, right, very unfairly, the only 2 people who knew they were going to be doing it. Yeah, and so I was all geared up for it, really looking forward to it. Didn't know what it was going to be, no idea. At some point I heard it was going to be about the Battle of Brunanburg, but no idea how it was going to work out. But I was so excited. I'm like you, I like to talk as if I'm talking about another person. I love that guy. Not talking about my portrayal of that guy, but that guy, I love him.
Constantine,
we saw your little history recap you did on him on Instagram, and you told us about the history. It's I mean, obviously we think he's interesting the way he was portrayed, but he sounds pretty interesting in history too.
Yeah, I mean, he really was. He really is quite unusual, and I am surprised. Like I said in that thing, I'm really surprised he's not like revered and lauded as a sort of Scottish hero. He's so incredible. Every decision along the way is smart and work and keeps this thing safe and going and keeps it as it is now.
What did you like most about him that you learned or you admired most?
I think it was probably that. I think it's the formation of Scotland and all the various kind of intricacies of the relationships he had to maintain, and like he's playing 3-dimensional chess the whole time. Just okay, if I ally with this guy just for now, then I can maybe curb this and get rid of that. But also, I think this thing about, they talk about, because I mean it's so thin on the ground, the history,
right?
But they talk about the Picts, the painted ones, who he is one of, and that's like I think I said before, is a really big chunk of northeastern Scotland. And I guess like Mel Gibson, he was painted. I know this is way after they don't exist anymore, but that's probably a kind of depiction of Pictish people. And even though that would be historically inaccurate, I guess. But they talk about them just disappearing, like a whole tribe of people who've been there forever just disappeared. The argument I like is that it wasn't a disappearance. It was a kind of a blending and a coming together of all the various tribes that were up there under his reign. And because it would have had fractious elements to it, but because of some way he led the thing, this coming together, which, for 1,000 years people have been fighting,
right,
seems peaceful. And so no one, I don't think, disappeared. They just became a kind of homogenous unit that lived, happily together. So
did something right at the time. It's remarkable.
It is remarkable.
Spinoff, though, we getting a spinoff, King Constantine from Last Kingdom series.
Yeah, but it's just after he gave up the throne, and it's just him at the monastery. I think right. It's very exciting.
Very slow-paced series.
But for real, I would love to see a
Constantine.
God, I think the Last Kingdom, it just seems to keep getting more popular every year. Yeah. Season 4 was really popular during COVID. Season 5 was really popular. Seven Kings Must Die. So I think they could do some spinoffs here. King Constantine would be one I would love to see.
That would be one, for sure.
Because we have his love across the sea or whatever that he wasn't able to be with. We got the formation of Scotland, and then just the whole how you had said in your history, his wrapping up and became an abbot. I think little
what you told us too before about sort of how he came to the throne would be a fascinating series.
Yeah, that is amazing in itself, isn't it? The murder of his father, the running away to his aunts in Ireland, training, learning to fight, then coming back with his cousin and assassinating the guy that killed his father, and then putting his cousin on the throne. Then the Vikings kill him. Then he takes control. Then he forms it. Man, I would love it. Even if I wasn't in it, I'd love it. Apparently, I was talking to Martha Hillier about it on the very last day of filming on Seven Kings, and I got the impression. Well, not the impression. She said that they, a few years ago, long before I was involved, had written an episode and pitched based on that episode a Scottish Last Kingdom that's all part of the same world, like characters could
very nice,
but maybe like an independent thing from it, but in the same world.
In the same world.
Let's make that
someday
happen.
It'd be so good.
Would you do it? Would you do it? Would you come back for it?
Well, I do it. Mm-hmm. I would play this guy for the rest of my life.
All right.
But I assume you'd have to go someone much younger to do all that really interesting opening stuff.
AI and stuff, man. You just shave the AI,
Star Wars Mandalorian did it.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure the budget can accommodate.
Yeah. No, I would love it. Oh man, yeah. Well, I just love playing this guy. So I would.
It's so cool. The Last Kingdom can take characters who are not Uhtred, and make people love them, and they can become someone's favorite character, even though they're not the main character of the show. And there's a lot of characters in the show that you could say that about, and Constantine for us is certainly one of them. Season 5 was definitely one of our favorites. It's just really cool that the show can do that.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. And when you watch it, like I said to you before, I watched it in such a short period of time. It's like looking at a heartbeat. I love this character, and now I really love this character, and I love this character. I loved Sick Tricker and Young Raptor, and just all the time my favorites were changing. It's an amazing series.
Speaking of Constantine, you come back to play him. Did you get out of character and then have to get back into character, pre-prepare for the role, or was it so close together that?
No, I went back into it. I don't know if it's just me, but I imagine it's a lot of that. After you do it for a while, you're so used to taking in enormous amounts of information that are very important for one day only. And then forget it. Ask me tomorrow what lines I said yesterday. I probably wouldn't be able to say one of them. I get given jobs from auditions, and I don't think I've ever heard the title before. My mind is trained to pick up information, hold on to it, and then drop it.
Interesting.
So no, I have to go right back to the beginning again. And that's great because you uncover all kinds of stuff you never had before. So it's got more and more complex. I remembered a lot of stuff from going back into it. But also he had access on this one to Martha Hillier in a way you might not normally, because she'd be writing the next episode. So you could have conversations with her and go
that's
into,
interesting.
Yeah, it's great. It's really, I mean, I'm sure she would be open to that anyway, but you always felt a bit like you can't just,
She's busy. She's getting
busy. Yeah. But yeah, so that was great. And you could go into a lot of detail.
And how did your approach to Constantine in Seven Kings Must Die, how was that altered compared to when you approached him for season 5? Did that change at all?
Yeah, it changed in the sense that I wanted him to be a changed man.
Yeah.
I wanted him to feel a little bit different. I quite wanted like the start point for him to be, I'm ready to abdicate. Donald is going to take over any minute now. I'm just going to oversee the transition to Ethelstan's reign. Ethelstan's going to come and have Northumbria given to him by Uhtred, and that's all going to work out. And as soon as the peace is re-established after that, I'm out of here. I've got one foot out of the door, and it all goes wrong. But I wanted it to start like that, like he's ready to end this.
He felt less confident and less of
more withdrawn, I would say. Like
compared
to season 5.
So it sounds like that's kind of what you were kind of going for, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's also the script has to be a lot more efficient. There's not so much room for the fun, and there's nothing that isn't necessary to the next bit of the plot. Everything is essential, so there's no real room to mess around. And also in the edit, to get it below that 2 hours, a lot of the breathing room of each scene had to go as well. So a conversation that in reality may be 2 minutes is now 20 seconds or something. Yeah, it's just a very condensed, it's a very different process, really. But yeah, certainly I wanted him to feel older and tired and ready to abdicate.
Yeah, I was missing some of his iconic lines that he's given us from season 5. Seizures are for turds. Never meet a wife on an empty stomach.
Yeah, never do that.
It's some real classics came out of Constantine that I was
a lot of life lessons for us too.
Life lessons, man.
Very important life lessons.
What did you enjoy most from shooting the movie? Was there a scene that you love doing or watching?
Okay, watching, the one that I remember standing out, particularly the second time, was the scene after the coronation with Laurie and Harry.
Oh, yeah.
And Harry's hurt that Laurie didn't turn up to the coronation. He's also been let down by Uhtred. And the vulnerability and this sort of abusive relationship, that coercive control of the person in charge, and Harry's kind of vulnerability, and how Laurie plays it just to keep him, keep him on the hook. It's so horrible, but they did it so well.
They both just did wonderful. My God,
that was so good. I was so
good.
What Harry did in season 5 was hard enough, but this is like on another level.
So complex.
He did great in this.
To play that, it's amazing.
He did so well, and he worked so hard on it. He really deserves it. What it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. What about one to shoot for you? Was there one that was?
I love them all. First, which is a dull answer. Funnily enough, there's one scene where I don't say anything, where Donald comes in and tells me Scotland's been ransacked by April. I remember loving doing that.
Yeah,
there's something about that kind of. I don't know. You're about to erupt, but you're keeping it just inside. Tell him to go off and set it up with Anlaf. We're going to war. But I think the most rewarding really would be the 7 Kings in a Circle War.
Okay, yeah,
that was fun. That was shot over 2 separate shoots, 2 separate places.
Okay,
maybe a week or 2 apart.
Oh yeah,
it's nice to kind of revisit it, have a chance to go again. I don't quite know what. I mean, I know for one reason was that we were on what felt like an island
Yeah.
And so most of the important thing was the background was all these fires and parties and the lake and stuff, or whatever, the ocean. And then the rest was kind of inside, although we shot the inside anyway, and I think that's mostly what they used. But nevertheless, we did it twice, and it was great fun. And I got to work with Alex again, and
It's awesome.
who I thought was Pekka was brilliant.
Yeah.
And he's hilarious to work with. That guy is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's so funny.
We love the movie. We really enjoyed it. But yeah, you did mention it, and that's something when we were watched it together over Zoom, when we had it on and I looked at the runtime, I was like, oh, that's right under 2 hours. So
Yeah,
and it Last Kingdom has always had, especially I'd say from season 3 on, has had kind of a quick pace plot, go, especially with the movie. But when I saw that, I was like, I bet you they cut out a bunch of juicy stuff or trimmed down some stuff. Was that scene around the fire, was that longer? I know from the books, that was one of my favorite things from the final book, Warlord, was all the kings trying to win Uhtred over, and that whole dynamic between Scots and Danes and him, and his relationship was rocky with Ethelstan too in the book. Was that something that was a little longer, or was there another scene that was maybe trimmed down that you did that you would have liked to have seen more?
no, I think they were all. I think they were all trimmed. I guess it's just got to move at a pace. So yeah, that scene was a little bit longer. They all were. Battles were more in depth and longer, and there was certainly stuff removed from that too. I felt there was an awful lot of information to keep up with. I felt this kind of inevitable pull, doomed pull towards this crescendo at Boom. The whole way through, it feels like you're building to this thing, and maybe that's part of it. That these little moments need to go to keep that momentum going towards this battle.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting too, with Constantine's character, because the first time we meet him in the movie, he's just sort of like, well, let's just go get a new deal with Ethelstan, because he doesn't want to join these pagans, right?
No,
it's not what he wants. He's kind of forced to do it with that crazy rampage scene, and that's the going back to that moment you just brought up, the scene where you don't say a thing.
Yeah,
it sort of speaks volumes in a weird way, because of the anguish that you see on Constantine's face, as a sort of like, how does it come to this sort of anguish? Like you're giving an order to do something you really don't want to give the order to, but you have to. Sort of the way I looked at it. I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, that first scene you see Constantine is this. Every sentence is carrying some ramification, the weight of which is like epoch changing. And so everything, we all knew what was going to happen. We all had agreements, Edward, Uhtred, and Constantine. We all knew where we were going, and everything was fine. Ethelstan knew it.
Yeah.
And are we progressing as we should have done? And then Uhtred's not gone down to the coronation. That's a worry.
Right.
Constantine's spidey senses are tingling. This can't be good, this can't be good.
Right.
And Ethelstan starts to behave the way he behaves. And we know he's mentioned being a king of the whole of Britain, and he's an imperialist perhaps.
Right.
So this is not looking good. This could have gone smoothly, and this is falling apart now.
Exactly.
And it's all Ethelstan's fault as far as Constantine's concerned.
And so then when Constantine is at that meeting with the pagans, which again, it was a great scene. It was so cool to see all these kings sitting around, discusses like a sort of power in the room kind of feel. What would Constantine's feelings being there? It's almost like there was a look of, I don't know, shame may not be the right word, that he's had to join these guys, even though he doesn't feel right joining pagans, but what did you think was going through Constantine's head being at that meeting?
I think you've got it absolutely bang on. It's not an alliance he's interested in having. Right. Does not want to be involved. I think he thinks Anlov is a psychopath. The Owain, King of Strathclyde, is insane.
Right.
prophecies and all this rubbish, but this is the corner he's forced into, and I think, yeah, he'd be. I guess it'd be a version of embarrassment at being now this guy Uhtred, who I respect, is going to see what I'm doing, but I have to try and say, look, this is where we all have to be. You too. It's because of the behavior of Ethelstan. I don't want to be here, and I know you don't, but we have to be.
Yeah. So, and I think the way Constantine, the way you say it to him, where you say, Ethelstan has taken an axe to the truce that you made, that you brokered. It was a cool moment there at that meeting, and then you sort of propose the idea. There's another way to consider.
Yeah.
Save many lives by simply taking one, and it sort of sets the tone.
Yeah.
Puts Uhtred in that sort of maybe he's right, because we know Constantine's got a lot of wisdom. I mean, he proved that in season 5. Yeah. We know it from history, so sort of I think makes Uhtred consider it for a second.
Yeah, I guess he leaves. You don't really know what he's going to do. I could actually, because obviously I can't remember what it was like when I read it. Was there any part of you that when he turned up back in Ethel's thought that maybe he might try and kill him?
No. No, I mean, when you said it to him, I thought he would mull it over on the way there, but I ultimately knew. I mean, obviously I knew the history too, because they had given us, since Ethelstan was a little kid, they put up future king of all England, right? And then I've read the final book too, so I was like, I don't know, there might at least be maybe a threat, and then to just wisen him up, kind of like Arnis coming for your son, maybe Uhtred, coming for Ethelstan here, right? So
I think it's just that Uhtred, like, his bond with Ethelstan is so strong. It's a father-son bond that they have that, like, I just knew, like, this Uhtred, I know they're setting it up here that, this was so easy if Uhtred just took him out right now.
Yeah.
I just kind of knew Uhtred just doesn't have that in him. Or just he wouldn't do it. Maybe he has it in him, but he wouldn't do it to Ethelstan. And I think Uhtred probably knows Constantine's right. Like, this would probably be the answer to go. But
this would be less bloodshed.
Yeah.
But I wonder if maybe, I've not thought about it, but I wonder if maybe if you hadn't seen the series, you didn't know who Uhtred particularly was, and you don't know the history, which I think most of us don't, maybe you might think, I don't know.
I bet you a lot of people who were just watching the movie, I bet you they thought they were debating that. Yeah, for sure.
I've seen a few comments on our post about that, actually. Some people have messaged us. Well, one of the great things about doing this podcast, Rod, is that we get to have so many conversations with people who watch the show, and just get other people's thoughts, and it gives us perspectives that we didn't have, watching it. And there were a few people talked about that scene that questioned that scene, what Uhtred was going to do. So there definitely were some people who did.
I was always questioning if Ethelstan was going to maybe kill Uhtred, because
that's what I questioned.
Uhtred's not a real historical figure, right? So, and I was like, they do sometimes change from the books, so I was always a little tense about every scene they had.
That's good. Yeah, that would ramp up the excitement. Yeah, no, I did feel like that. Felt like he's so dangerous. I mean, he killed Old Helm.
Oh,
givable. So anything, it's up for anyone.
Let's talk about the battle. So first of all, is the Battle of Brunanburg, is that something that, like, when you grow up in England and you grow up in the UK, that you know about this battle, or you taught about it, or
No, I mean, obviously, when what we learn is very, like, Anglo-centric, but no, I'd never heard of it, and I don't think anyone.
Okay.
It's a massive battle, but no, and it's only like, I don't know, 5 years or 6 years. I don't even know where it happened. There's not much written. There's a poem written by the victors, which is therefore slightly unreliable, and something in the Annals of Ulster or something, I think it's called, where they talk about it. But no, it's only recently they've really pinned down where it happened and what happened.
Okay.
In fact, they're probably still digging right now while we're speaking.
Wow.
What was it like filming that massive shield wall clash?
It was great. It was funny. It was great. It was very kind of in and out bit, because they did these little pockets. It's really hard to get your head around. I found this on season 5 too. Who's where? What's going on?
Okay.
What moment is this? You don't even sometimes know where the enemy is. Are they here? Are they over here? Or what? Who am I? And I don't get your uniform. Am I killing you? We're all sat in a kind of valley, and there's fighting going on, and there's fires everywhere, and screaming and shouting. And then you get called in to do this little tiny bit in amongst bodies, and then back out, and then someone else is in to do a little tiny. Or you get like, they happen to find a nice shot where you are. I think pretty much everything you see of me in the battle is all from one shot in the end, where Ed is calling out. Right now, we're at the bit where you've seen that this shield wall has been pushed around too far, and Anlaf's calling to do something that is going to put the Scots in danger. So shout some stuff about that. And then you're like, wait, now we're on to the, Donald's just died. So it's
interesting.
Kind of like that in the end. Yeah, it's kind of chaos. It's fun. I love it, but it's
that's what we loved about that battle too, is it felt like chaotic in the battle too, the way it came together, which in our opinion is probably how those battles were back then. Just total blades flying here, blades flying there. I mean, how do you control that many people in a battle? But it's cool.
A lot of it's just weight in the end. There's the first couple of people who are fighting, and then everyone else is just kind of, they can't do anything.
Just push. Push against the guy in front.
Get him, Jim. Get him.
And moral support.
Woo! I agree though. I think that battle was amazing, and I feel like that is much more representative of how a battle should be. There's no cool sword play and stuff like that. It's just a mess.
It's raw. And we love the cool sword play in the other battles and a lot of the epic things, but we actually had a deep appreciation of this battle, how realistic it really felt. Like they didn't have to go all out and do a huge set cliff, whatever, which we loved. That was amazing. It was epic. But it was cool to get a battle that felt real. I mean, guys were peeing themselves. They were puking before the battle started. And a lot of the injuries like Uhtred's and Pure Leagues were just some guy threw a spear. Maybe he wasn't even aiming at him and just got hit. And it's probably how it would be.
I think it's certainly like, as you know, how it was written, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. We said that too when we were watching it. We're like, this just feels like I'm reading Bernard Cornwell's battles. I think Bernard Cornwell is one of the best writers of a medieval battle I've ever read.
Yeah,
as far as the details.
Well, so not that he may be the only one I've ever read, but it certainly you're there when you're reading it, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. It's so detailed, and that's what this one really felt that way. It felt like, wow, this is crazy.
For me, I mean, I agree. I love the sword play. I love the way the battles have always worked, but for me, this was hands down the most interesting one. Yeah, and it felt the most real.
I was hoping for a Constantine charge, though. At some point, just some of his classic guerrilla out of the gate.
Yeah. Oh, I'd have loved that. There was a fight between Citric and
Constantine.
Yeah, but it's
really?
It didn't make it. We only got to shoot it once, and there's just time run out. There was no leeway on this movie at all.
Right.
And the important thing was to get Donald killed on camera.
Right.
There had been a moment where we thought maybe he would just be a dead body after the battle. But everyone was saying this is kind of important. The kings are dying, and you want to see it happen. But Constantine tries to avenge Donald. And he goes through the warriors, and immediately after Donald's died, and attacks Citric. But then a whole wall of humanity just rushes between us, and Constantine gets knocked on the floor, and Citric runs away.
Oh, that'd have been cool.
I would have wanted to see that.
Just a rage
extended
Constantine.
Extended cut.
Yeah.
Extended cut. Come on. Just a
Yeah, yeah,
rage
yeah.
Constantine battle would have been cool. But I guess it also works because I think Constantine like is much older now than he was in season 5 and not in his prime as far as being a warrior anymore. Like you said, he was ready to retire. He was ready
No,
to.
Colby, he's always in his prime.
He's always in his prime. I know.
Was he winning before the wall came in before they got separated? Who was winning? I should ask that.
Oh, definitely us. Definitely us.
Oh.
No, yeah, I mean they were outnumbered, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think Constantine would think if Anlov hadn't been impetuous, is that the right word? Jumping the gun, it would have been gone the other way. And then what would happen? No England, yeah. Scotland may have been bigger.
Might have been a little bit bigger, yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was on the offense. But yeah, I think Anlov's jumping the gun was what kind of ruined it in the end.
Yeah. Because Constantine is picking up his spidey senses are tingling at one point. It's like something's not right here.
Yeah.
So he's still, if he was in command of this army, maybe they would have stood a better chance.
If they just had
Yeah.
Constantine by himself up front, Colby, just running at the
One
show,
on.
it would have just been that would have been the wedge they needed,
Right. Everyone else sat down just drinking cups of tea.
Exactly.
Just leave it to me.
Send in the king,
It was really clever, though, how it was the heirs that died, which is definitely more damning to these kings than them actually dying, which was really neat.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. That was a really cool idea. Definitely cool idea.
For sure. And then one thing I think is really interesting, and I don't know the way you interpreted the movie, Rod, is that there's a lot of ambiguity at the end with Uhtred and his fate, and whether does he die, does he live? Maybe he was just hallucinating. Well, he was probably hallucinating, but maybe he did live after that. And I think one of the key things to think about is the title of the movie, Seven Kings Must Die.
Yeah.
And they're counting six kings at the end.
Yeah.
And with Uhtred, he's sort of like, am I the seventh king?
Mm-hmm.
And a thing earlier in the movie is Constantine refers to him as a king of Northumbria briefly. Like when Uhtred walks in, I think Anlaf asks, is this the king of Northumbria? And Constantine sort of like says yes, and then kind of looks down knowing that he's not actually king.
Mm.
I don't know if there's any talk of that, or
how did you interpret the end?
How did you interpret it?
Without having put any thought into it, I assumed he went to Valhalla.
Yeah.
And died there and then. But yeah, it really is open, isn't it? He could have lived another 20 years.
The way when I first watched it, I thought for sure he died. I thought like,
yeah.
And then the more I watched it, the more I sort of like, well, maybe he didn't. I think there's a chance, and I think you could watch it and say he didn't. If you really wanted to.
That's what I'm doing.
And that's what Steve would choose to do, which. But I think you could also look at it like if you want to kind of see the end of Uhtred's journey, you could say, okay, well, no, this was it for him, but
all worked out. But no, I don't think there's definitely no right or wrong to that. Easily he could have survived. But yeah, I just assumed that was the end. And I thought it was, quite a beautiful end for him in a way. I know there's more to do and there's people to stay alive for, but and you saw all those guys in Valhalla.
Yeah.
Having proper fun, not like the Saxons. Go on, enjoy it.
Yes.
I mean, the way I interpret it is when he looks back at his son, I think that's like his oh, there I am in the real world. I can go to this other world now. Like there's my legacy. That was the way I looked at it the first time.
Yeah.
So I thought he died, but who knows? It's cool that they can leave it like that.
Yeah, for season 6.
Yeah, or movie 6 Kings Must Die next.
Then 5, 4, work our way down.
Go up, maybe 30. 30 kings.
Yes. Oh yeah.
There's more kings.
Absolutely. How long did it take to shoot that battle into the Brunanburg?
A week or two? I can't remember. It was a beautiful little spot though. Wow.
Yeah.
Stunning. And quite a long way away. And long days of, quite often getting fully, made up, sitting there freezing all day long, and then, right, okay, you can go home now. It was quite quick considering, You know, the amount of people, the amount of little events that took
Looked
place.
like a lot of people. It really did.
Yeah, there were quite a few. I mean, there were, I guess. Season 5 had a lot of people.
True,
too.
true.
Well, like it did feel like more than that, though. More people were really there.
Yeah, it felt massive, especially those zoom out shots they do.
No, weren't they?
It puts you on the edge of your seat. I'll tell you what, it really does.
Yeah, the one, when the ones where they came over the top, I loved it. Yeah, some of that was the photography was stunning, I thought.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think it definitely looks cinematic. I mean, gorgeous.
And
was there a difference in the way they shot it compared to the show, or did it feel different the way they were shooting?
No, not that I particularly noticed.
Okay.
I did a couple of times step back and look at the monitor. And the first time you see these characters in a kind of wider ratio.
Oh, okay.
That actually felt more remarkably different while we were doing it than even seeing it on a big screen. That's beautiful. I love seeing that. Just a much more pleasing ratio, I think.
When you see it on a different ratio like that, does that change anything you do as an actor?
Not particularly, but I thought the performances they all felt more film-like than TV-like. Across the board, I thought. I mean, I always thought everyone was great, but I really like these performances.
Yeah.
From everyone. That's something I can't be there. I mean, you're just going in doing the same character, so I don't know, but it felt like
did. Well, you've been able to work with some of the best or some of the greatest TLK directors from the season too. You had John East for episode 10 of season 5, The Last Kingdom, and then Ed Bazalgette or Bazalgette. I've heard a bunch of different ways.
Pronounce it?
I say Bazalgette, but I don't know.
Okay.
How do you say it?
No
Sorry,
one knows.
Like jet engine, Bazalgette.
Oh, Bazalgette. Okay. I've heard that too.
Told me that's not how you say my name, so I'm going to stick with it. But I'm probably offended. Yeah.
We're sorry, Ed. But anyway, though, you got to work with him on this one. What was it like working with him as a director for this movie?
Oh, I really enjoyed working with him. He was really encouraging. A lot of trust from him. You know what you're doing. It's a big old job for him to keep track of this whole thing. So you come in, you kind of he wants to know what you think's happening and what are the implications of everything you're saying. And I've found that you kind of talk about. I guess you're in charge of this character in a way, and you do all this in-depth thinking about them. Everyone's doing all their in-depth thinking about all their jobs, apart from the bigger picture.
Right.
And he really listens to that, I think, which is really nice. And so I found the support and trust was rather amazing, really. And so I loved working with him for that reason. Yeah. And he's quiet, and he's funny, he's got a fun sense of humor, and he's obviously on top of it all. But yeah, it's like, what do you reckon this scene is? Great, let's shoot that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's got to be nice when the director really trusts you, and
it gives you confidence. It's really, really lovely, really lovely.
And then the last scene that we see you in the movie is just sort of Constantine looking defeated after the battle, talking to the king, to Anlaf and the other kings there. What was it like doing that scene? Because I love the way he just walks away at the end. It's sort of like his "I'm done" moment to me. He says, "What is there left to fight for?" Then the guy asks for a ship, and then Constantine just looks at him like, "Are you kidding me?" and walks away.
Cheeky little shit. Well, that gave me a chance to work with Pekka again, and I like that. To work in that moment of having just lost Donald, and this was every part of this is just a bad idea.
Yeah,
it's inevitable. I couldn't have done anything about it, but it's a bad idea, and now look what's happened. He's broken, I think. Broken.
Yeah.
So I know I loved it, and it was beautiful. Something about that.
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to post some pictures from that day at some point, and the light coming through those trees and stuff, just stunning. But I loved it. That's all great. Every day on that job's great.
Yeah, I know. And what was it like your last day on it? We know that you love Constantine, this character, and we love that you love Constantine. We love Constantine, but it's so cool when an actor just loves their character like you did. So what was it like the last day on set? I know you posted a video and you said it was a sad day, but could you walk us through what your last day on set was like a little bit?
Well, that day, funnily enough, I was thinking that when you guys reached out again, that was probably about 2 days before we last did a podcast. That last day on set, or maybe 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
But I went back on set because I stayed in Budapest after I finished. There's a little kind of period before they release you.
Okay.
Everything's in the can, and then I was so near the very, very end and the wrap party and stuff. I thought, well, I'm just going to stay in Budapest until it finishes. So the very, very, very last day ever on The Last Kingdom, I asked the AD if I could join them on set. So I spent the whole day on set watching it all take place and watch it all come to an end. And that was really, I mean, it was a joyous, beautiful moment, but it was also sad, emotional, and watching actors one by one end this enormous chunk of their lives.
Yeah.
What was that final scene they were filming?
It was all around pulling down those standing stones.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the last stuff. And my God, it was a beautiful day. It was just the sun was setting just behind the stones, and it just was so beautiful. There was a camp behind, and everyone was there. Everyone, from the crew was there.
Wow.
And Dominic Hyman, who does all the production design.
He's fantastic.
Goodness, he's amazing. He was there. And yeah, it's emotional. And yeah, people saying their last word at some point and cut, and you're done. And then Alex, said a beautiful speech, as did Nigel, I think, and Matt Chaplin, the producers. And then Arnis, of course, makes it all great. He brings out a speaker. Somehow he plugs it into the speakers that the directors are using, and the whole valley mountainside becomes a party.
Oh, well, that's the way to do it. It sounds like a special moment that you guys had there. Thank you from us fans. We know how hard, the hard work you guys put into this to make something as special as you did. We just appreciate it so much.
Well, that means the world, Colby. It's so nice to hear. The people who like this show are so incredible. I've never come across anything like it. The messages I get are, I don't know, every one of them's like, it really transforms your day. It really does.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's
nothing throwing out messages into the ether. It's read and it means a lot.
What kind of reception have you gotten? Sort of feedback?
It's kind of similar things to what you were saying. People seem to really love Constantine and be really interested in who he was. I mean, that one I put out that you were just talking about the sort of the history of the real guys. I'm getting so many messages about it. People wanting to know more, and feedback has been just, they think this guy's hilarious and fun and just brilliant. He was, season 5, he was just funny, wasn't he?
Yes. It was cool because there were sort of genres of characters in The Last Kingdom, and we think Constantine and you sort of created a new genre of a character. There's Saxons, there's Danes, and now there's the Scots, and the Scots are awesome. They're rock stars. It was cool.
So no, that has meant the world. And the other thing is, of course, the thing I keep thinking is that when the fans are these messages are coming in and thanking you for what you've done on it, your little part of it, is that like it wouldn't happen. I mean, it sounds like a corny thing to say, but it just wouldn't exist without this support.
Right.
It's like in theatre, you really get to feel it. There's a
right
relationship immediately, and you say things that they're in a bad mood today, or we're in a bad mood, and everyone's affecting everyone, and it's so immediate and obvious. But it's exactly the same behind a camera. That what people think and do and how they respond directly affects what's happening in the writer's room and then shot on screen. And it wouldn't happen without these incredible fans of the show. So They made it.
Speaking
again,
of passionate fans,
yes,
you're also in you're in the next season of Outlander. We know this coming out this summer, season 7, 2023. Yeah, I was like, what year is it? But anyway, you're coming out. Really passionate fans here. You're also playing the role of Benedict Arnold, right?
yes. Yep. We learn a lot about here in the U.S.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah.
Obviously, we want to stay spoiler free because we like the show. We watch the show, and two, you don't want the higher ups, the stars, finding you. So
don't be a traitor.
Don't betray them. So is there can you tell us anything about as far as your experience shooting that? And we had talked before recording this podcast. We had when we were talking show recommendations last time we talked to you, we said Outlander, and you said, I've been holding on to that one, and now you're in it.
And I was so when I was offered that job, genuinely, you guys were my first thought. I want to text these guys and tell them, because how bizarre. I've auditioned for Outlander a few times. And one time, I think I might have told you this before, I was offered a job and then something happened and I can't remember why I couldn't do it. So, finally I get to go up to Scotland and shoot. What can I tell you? Well, only really about the guy himself. I mean, he's another really interesting, really interesting. I'd never heard of him.
Really?
We're not really told much about him. I guess you'd have to.
That's interesting.
Very specifically learning about the war. So, and we don't. It's not part of our curriculum. It wasn't when I was a kid. So yeah, I didn't know who he was. So I'm approaching him really unbiased, open mind, and also I have to play him. I've got to.
Of course.
I've got to justify all the actions that he takes, and which actually I didn't find impossible to do in any way. If you can filter through some of the ego that was a big old ego and obviously a traitor. But I always felt like if he died at that Battle of Saratoga and you ignored some of his behavior in his personal life, this guy was amazing. Yeah, he would be a dollar bill if he died in that battle towards the end.
Interesting. I can't wait to, when the season comes out, maybe we could just dive into it more, because he, it's just another interesting character in history. And maybe just like with Constantine, it'll give us, like, a lot of people motivation to learn even more about this character. It's really interesting to me that you had never heard of him, because I think almost anyone who's gone to school in the US will look at the cast list of Outlander season 7 and see, oh my God, Benedict Arnold's going to be in this season. Because I think George Washington showed up in one of the last seasons, and everyone here knows who Benedict Arnold is, as far as I know. We'll definitely be looking for you. Yeah, we're just excited to see how that goes.
And we know how Diana Gabaldon writes villains. We're not saying Benedict Arnold's a villain. We know how she does often portray different characters, so it'll be interesting to see sort of the Outlander spin on him as well, I think.
Yeah, well, she did a great job, and it's definitely an interesting character. And working on it was lovely. That's another really well-oiled machine of really lovely people. It was really enjoyed it. I love being up in Scotland. Funnily enough, I was staying in a hotel which was built just slightly maybe even into, but certainly beneath the walls of Constantine's castle.
Nice. Did you lay claim?
Yeah, I did. Whoa, get out.
Are there remains of that castle that you can see, or is it just sort of a ground
No, I guess it's been modified throughout history.
Okay.
But it's a fully operational, it's probably got electricity and plumbing and, heating and everything. It's a perfectly preserved building. You can walk around the grounds of it. It's absolutely stunning.
That's
It's
pretty
one of
cool that
those,
you got to go there. That
yeah, I know. I walked around it every day. It's one of those ones like in Edinburgh where it's up on a feels like a rock, like a completely impenetrable
yeah,
thing. Sheer cliffs and a castle on top, but just stunning.
it's funny how those things work out, you know?
Yeah,
Like this is
yeah.
That
Me,
that's
never heard of Constantine, never heard of that castle, and then there you are.
that's so cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
and you also recently were in another Netflix series called Red Rose. Um,
Yes.
I don't do scary things, Rod. So I didn't watch it. you
I
know,
don't know either.
I was supporting you, but
But not
but
that far.
Colby has seen some of it, and then he told
I
me
watched
to
it, yeah.
watch different parts just to see your role in
Okay.
it, and it was kind of, it seemed really intense
It's a
for
cool show.
for that, right? That was really different than Constantine role
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. Yeah, like a total opposite. Like a really what's the word? Opposite of alpha kind of guy, but
Mm.
put into a really awful situation and reacting to it in about the worst way imaginable. And yeah, every moment was pretty intense for me in that. It wasn't a huge role or anything, but it was a fun role.
Yeah, it
And
seemed like you were like you had to be very like emotional in
yeah,
a
Yeah,
lot of, at least the scenes I saw. And I was like, damn, it looks, I mean, you were killing it, but I was like, that looks exhausting that you would have to
I know.
like I saw the one scene, I forget, I think it was your girlfriend or wife was coming to talk to
It
you,
was
and you were
girlfriend,
just
yeah.
like, I just need a second, or I just need some time. And I was like, damn, this, like, I
It
feel
was like
just,
unstable, like
yeah. And
yeah.
then you turn into like Freddy or Jason
Michael Myers. No,
at
crazy.
Yeah, it was a really fun and really, really different. And yeah, totally different experience. But yeah, I loved it again. I loved it. I'm working with Elf Fled.
Elfled. Yeah, Amelia. Elfled.
Um,
Yeah, Elfled. You got it. You got
I
it.
never I never know. It begins with AE and that covers everyone in the whole of the
Mhm.
Last Kingdom. But she was great. And yeah, it was a really interesting job, really good fun. And those guys, those writers, brilliant. Did
Yeah.
like a Haunting of Bly Manor. I know that wouldn't be you, Steve, but
Yeah, it
I
was
would.
me. I've seen it all.
Sure.
Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Steve, you'd love it, man.
No.
I try to get Steve to watch this stuff. We want to do a segment on this show, Rod, where like we live stream a horror movie that I pick just for
Yeah.
Steve's reactions, just to
Ugh.
see. Steve got scared watching the live action Lion King. So
Yeah.
we
Okay.
No, it was a jump scare. It was
it
a
was a
jump
jump
scare. It
scare. Like
was a
Simba
jump
like
scare.
jumps at a bird at one point.
Steve, what is it? Tell me. I don't like horror much, but I'm not, it doesn't particularly scare me. What is it that you can't deal with?
I I don't know. I know like my mom is very jumpy. I know like you can be in the same, she can see you, you can be in front of her, walk around to like different part of the room and just be like, "Hey mom," real quick, and you can scare her like that. And so I'm nowhere near as bad as that, but like I think I still have some of that in me for some reason. So that's definitely, I mean, like there are some movies that aren't exactly horror movies, they're kind of more like thrillers. But if they're
Yeah.
tense enough the whole time, I mean, like
Yeah.
I'm reacting like like a guy in an electric chair or something, you know what I mean? I'm just jumping the entire time. Yeah,
In a
so I
way,
mean, they enjoyed that when I lived with
I
because
was gonna say,
Colby and
learning about that,
Josh both
learning
love.
about that early on when we lived together, it made the next 3 years really fun.
you
I'll
yeah,
tell
of
you.
know,
course.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised he didn't move out, but
Fodder.
but
But that makes you the perfect audience, Steve.
yeah, I don't know, and I don't know what it is too, but like horror movie violence is, it's more disturbing to me. Like I can watch a Battle of the Last Kingdom and watch like a bunch of guys get gutted
yeah,
and thrown, but like when I watch like a horror movie thing, it's a whole different thing for me. Like I don't like it. You know what I mean? So like if it's more of like a gory horror movie like kind of thing, it's definitely not my cup of.
we get emotional when we watch stuff, though. We do.
Yeah, we filmed our reactions for season 5 of The Last Kingdom but like there's so much to it. And I was also, we're both working full time. We're both trying to watch this entire show before we speak with Cass. So I was like, when I'm going back and watching it, my reactions were most like, oh, so like, oh no, like I wasn't into it as much as I normally am. But when we watched Seven Kings Must Die here together, recharge, feeling great, and it's just a movie. We were to watch it together, and it was that one's. You'll see how I normally am watching things. I can get into it. Yeah,
we were gonna podcast immediately after. We had to take a long break because I mean, we both were like just emotional, like, oh man, that ending, and oh,
that's funny. Well, you are a great audience. I'm a bit like that. That.
Yeah.
On for the ride, whatever it is. Yeah.
Have you watched anything new and good lately, or anything that you've been really into? Have you had time?
I have had time. I haven't had a great few months of like, this is incredible. I loved The Old Man. Did you watch that?
I don't think
so.
No.
No.
The Old
What's
Man.
that?
It's Jeff Bridges.
Okay, yes, I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I really love. Well, I'm absolutely love him. But also, it's really interestingly put together, and like the first episode has a kind of fight scene in it, which is almost unlike anything I've ever seen. And he's one of the people fighting at his age, and it goes on for ages, and it's so brutal and so well shot. It's like, oh my goodness, this is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Check that out.
Yeah, it's interesting. What about you guys?
Last of Us, Mandalorian,
Ted Lasso.
Love it. Yeah.
Have you seen Ted Lasso?
Yeah. Not the new one. I've seen
okay. It's great.
I quite fancy watching that talking football, that Ryan Reynolds and
yes,
Wrexham.
Yeah, Welcome to Wrexham. That's fantastic. And
I know nothing about soccer, so I don't know.
No,
we call it soccer.
This is America, Colby. We call it soccer here.
I know. Steve and I are actually going to be in England a month from now. We'll be in England. Well, a month from today, Steve, we're going to be in Bebbanburg.
Are you? You're going to Bamburgh?
Yeah.
Wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, have you been there?
I've been there. My wife worked. She used to be. I don't know if I said before. She was a TV host for a while. She was filming up in Newcastle, which is nearby, a couple of weeks, and so I went up and stayed in Bamburgh.
Amazing.
That village there is beautiful. Those sand dunes around the castle itself. Just
excited. Yeah, we have a whole day there. That's
nice.
Thank you so much, Rod, for coming on, speaking with us again. We love you. We love Constantine, and we're so excited too. We have another excuse to talk to you again here in the future. You'll be an Outlander, and thanks again for being a great member to the show. Is there anything you want to say to the fans here, wrapping up?
I mean, I want to say thank you for the amazing support you guys are. I've never come across anything like it, and you are the reason that it kept going for so long. And it means the world to us, every of these amazing comments you say. So thank you so much for being the best fans in any show ever. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you guys, thank you for having me back. I love coming on this show. So thank you.
We love having you, Rod. It's always fun to chat with you. It really is. We hope you all follow, like, subscribe our podcast. We'll be back with more for sure. Keep talking Last Kingdom. But for now, bye from the Screen Chronicles and Rod Hallett.